Imagine waking up not to sunshine and breakfast, but to thick, smoky air in a dark basement. It's 11 p.m. in Birmingham, England, and the year is 1875. You're not going to bed, you're starting your workday as a Victorian baker. The bakery is underground and lit by just one flickering gas lamp. The walls are black with soot from decades of coal fires. The air is hot and dusty, filled with flour and smoke that sticks to your skin and fills your lungs. Breathing, it feels like. Chewing dry powder. You've just had a 2-hour nap on a sack of flour laid over wooden boards. Your back hurts, your hands are cracked and sore, and your mouth tastes like old ashes. This is your life now, a job more dangerous than mining, and with shorter life expectancy. Most bakers don't live past 42. The foreman, a large man with loud lungs and missing fingers, barks out orders. Foster, light the oven. Harpet, start the sponge. New boy, move those sacks. You're the new boy, and you know better than to hesitate. Losing this job means hunger or a trip to the workhouse, where the poor were sent to suffer even more. You grab a sack of flour that weighs as much as a child. The burlap scrapes your neck as you carry it across the room. Each trip makes you more tired, but there's no time to stop. Soon, the room will be scorching hot as the coal ovens heat up. The skinny guy lighting the fire, his name is Duncan, says, "Give it an hour and we'll be sweating like sinners in church." He's right. Victorian bakehouses were like torture chambers. They were freezing when you arrived, but soon turned into ovens themselves, often reaching over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. There were no fans or windows to let in fresh air. The heat and smoke just sat in the room, turning every breath into a struggle. As the foreman shouts again, you lift sack after sack of flour. Your clothes stick to your back from sweat, and your arms ache from the heavy lifting. Duncan, who looks about 40 but is only 25, turns to you and asks, "How long you been baking?" You tell him 3 months. "You won't make it to Christmas." He replies, he's not being rude, just honest. Most people didn't last long in this job. Back then, bakers worked 16 to 18 hours a day, every day. They suffered from lung problems from inhaling flour dust, got burns from the ovens, and lifted heavy sacks until their bodies broke. Many died young, and even those who survived had constant pain. Now it's time to start the sponge. That's the first step in making bread. It's a mixture of flour, yeast, and water that sits and ferments. In a good bakery, someone would have started it earlier. But this isn't a good bakery. It's a rough place that cuts corners to save time and money. Harpet, another baker with strong arms, mixes the sponge using American flour. "Better dough," he grunts, "but hard on the arms." American. Wheat was cheaper and had more gluten, which made it stretchier and better for bread. By the 1870s, British bakeries used it a lot. As the oven's heat spreads through the room, you finish moving the last flour sack. Now you're told to sift the flour through a wire mesh to remove bugs and dirt. You find stones, bugs, and strange dark bits in the flour. You quietly flick them away, hoping no one notices. But the foreman sees. "That's just extra protein," he jokes. "We used to dream of bugs during the cotton famine." It's not a joke. Back then, no one cared about clean food. If it didn't kill you right away, it was considered good enough. Midnight passes. The sponge is ready, and now it's time to mix the dough. This is the hardest part. Harpet pours the sponge into a giant wooden trough. More flour, water, and salt are added. The dough is too heavy to mix by hand, so you and Duncan climb into the trough barefoot. Yes, barefoot. Bakers would walk through the dough to mix it. The cool, sticky dough squishes between your toes. At first, it's kind of fun, like stepping in mud. But 20 minutes later, your legs burn, your sweat drips into the dough, and your body begs you to stop. Nobody cares about the sweat. It's part of the recipe, whether people knew it or not. Even famous food writers mentioned how sweat ended up in every loaf. The foreman finally says, "Enough, get it on the bench." Now comes kneading. You pull out huge chunks of dough about 50 pounds each and start working them on a wooden table. Push, fold, turn, repeat. Your shoulders scream in pain and your hands blister and bleed. You can barely stand, but there's no time to rest. Kneading is important. Bakers didn't know why, but they knew it made the bread rise better. Today we call it gluten development, but back then it was just back-breaking labor. After an hour, your arms feel like jelly. But there's still more to do. The dough is cut into smaller pieces, about 4 pounds each, shaped quickly into loaves. Each one must be shaped perfectly, or it will bake wrong and come out of your pay dot. It's 2 a.m. now. The bakehouse is boiling hot. The air is a thick mix of dust and smoke. You're soaked in sweat. Duncan, working next to you, suddenly collapses. To the floor. He's passed out from the heat. "Not again," says Harpett calmly. Drag him to the corner. Splash him with water. Fainting is normal here. No one's surprised. With no fresh air, people passed out all the time. Some didn't wake up, but Duncan does. He blinks and mumbles, "How long was I out?" 2 minutes, Harpett says. A new record. Duncan gets up, shaky but determined. Can't stop. Got a sister and her kids counting on me. That's the truth of this job. No work means no pay, and no pay means no food. By 3 a.m. The first loaves go into the oven. The foreman uses a giant wooden shovel called a peel. "Watch yourself," warns Harpett. Old Bill lost 3 fingers last year. Injuries were common. No safety rules, no brakes, no protection. Burns from the 500-degree oven were normal. Infections from burns? Even worse. At last, bread starts coming out of the oven golden, crusty and perfect smelling. You'd think this moment would feel good, but you don't get to eat it. This bread is for factory workers who can actually afford it. You'll eat stale or damaged bread if you're lucky. Sometimes the poorest bread is the healthiest, full of bran and not bleached white, but no one knew that back then. The night grinds on. More dough, more kneading, more baking. Your body feels like it's moving without you. Everyone is too tired to talk. Around 4 a.m., you get a 20-minute break. You lie down on empty flour sacks and fall asleep instantly. Your dreams are strange, drowning in dough, buried in flour. Someone shakes you awake. Final batch needs loading. You can barely stand. Every muscle burns. Your hands are raw and bleeding. But there's no time to think. You load the last batch into the oven, then get ready for deliveries. Your job isn't over. You've worked all night, but now you have to walk miles delivering bread. You take the factory route, says the foreman. 30 loaves to Soho Works. Be late, we lose the contract. Soho Works is 3 miles away. You'll carry a basket that weighs almost 100 pounds. After this hellish night, you now face a long walk. Harpett pats your shoulder. Take bridge. Street. Less chance of street kids nicking a loaf. Street kids, called street Arabs back then, were homeless and starving. They'd steal bread if they could. And if a loaf gets stolen, it comes out of your pay. As you pack your basket, Duncan slips a small loaf into your pocket. For the road, he whispers. This small kindness, sharing food in a world of hunger, is how bakers survive. They look out for each other in a system that grinds them down. You step outside. The pre-dawn air feels freezing after the oven's heat. Your wet clothes chill you instantly, but you'll soon sweat again under the weight of the basket. The streets are quiet. A few workers, some night shift cleaners, and a policeman nod as you pass. You're part of a strange world, the one that works while everyone else sleeps. You're delivering the bread that fuels Birmingham's factories. Without you, the city would starve. But the job that feeds everyone is slowly killing you. Tomorrow, you'll do it all again. You arrive at Soho Works as the sun starts rising, the sky glowing orange behind the factory chimneys. The city is slowly waking up. The factory foreman is already waiting. You're late. He snaps, even though you're right on time. You drop the heavy basket, your arms numb from carrying it nearly 3 miles. A crowd of factory workers rush toward the basket like hungry animals. They're covered in soot and grease, their faces tired, eyes focused only on the bread. "Back up," yells the factory boss. "Form a queue or nobody eats." The men shuffle into a rough line. Their hunger is obvious. They earn just enough to buy a loaf each day, and that bread is their fuel for the 12-hour shift. Ahead, you hold out a crusty loaf to the first man. 4 pence, you say. He drops coins into your hand, grabs the loaf, and bites into it before even walking away. Half of it is gone before he gets to the gate. Some workers wrap their loaves in cloth to save for later. Others eat like they haven't eaten in days. The bond between these men and bread is strong. It's not a treat, it's survival. Bread keeps them going through long hours of dangerous, exhausting factory work. "Where's old Pete?" the factory foreman asks, eyeing you. "He's been bringing our bread for years." "Don't know any Pete," you say. "Just started." "Huh," the foreman grunts. "Probably dead. Baker's lung, most likely. He was coughing for months." He says it casually, like he's talking about the weather. That's how common death was in this trade dock with your basket empty. You start walking back to the bakehouse. Every step is a struggle. Your legs feel like wood. Your back is on fire, and your feet are swollen. The city is now fully awake. Carts rattle by. Horses clop down the cobbled streets. Smoke rises from 1,000 chimneys, turning the sky gray again by the time you reach the bakery. It's almost 9 o'clock in the morning. You've been working for 10 hours straight. Most people would expect to go home and rest, but not you. The foreman greets you at the door, sweating and tired, but still barking orders. "Good, you're back. We've got a special order 50 fancy rolls for the tea shop on Chester Street. Get to it." You stare at him in disbelief. "But I've been up since. Did I ask for your life story?" He snaps. 50 rolls. Now, or find another job. There are no labor laws to protect you. No break, no sleep. Just more work. Shifts stretch to 18 or even 20 hours when there's high demand. If you complain, you're out and there's always someone desperate enough to replace you. You go back to the bench where Harpet is still working. His dark beard is now white with flour. "Factory route went all right?" he asks, shaping dough as he speaks. "Yeah," you reply, grabbing your tools again. "Sold every loaf." "Good. I always worry about the new lads on that route. Had a boy last year got robbed at knife point. Lost the whole basket. Took him months to pay it back." You don't answer. You're too tired. Your hands feel huge and sore. The blisters from the night shift have turned into painful, hard spots, but the work doesn't stop. The fancy rolls need to be soft, smooth, and perfectly round. The job is delicate, requiring skill, not just strength. As you work the dough, your mind drifts to a numb place where pain is just background noise. Then the foreman calls your name. "Master wants to see you. Office, now." You wipe your hands on your apron and head upstairs. The office feels like another world. It's cleaner, cooler, and full of light from a small window. The master baker sits at a desk, fat and rich-looking, with a gold watch chain stretched across his stomach. Next to him is a thin man holding a leather case. "This the new one?" The master asks. "Yes, sir," you reply, touching your forehead in respect. "Good. Listen carefully. Mr. Parsons, here is our supplier of quality improvers. You'll be working with him today. Special batch." The master finally looks you in the eye. His voice turns cold. "And I don't need to tell you what happens in my bakehouse stays in my bakehouse. Understood?" You nod slowly. You've heard rumors about improvers, things bakers add to bread to make it cheaper. But now, you're being pulled in directly. You don't want to, but what choice do you have? Back in the bakehouse, Mr. Parsons opens his case. Inside are bottles and paper packages. The foreman clears everyone else out. Now it's just you, Parsons, and the heat from the ovens. You ever worked with improvers before? He asks. No, sir. Simple enough, he says. Bread's too expensive to make honestly these days. We need to cut costs. This, he opens a packet of fine white powder, is alum. Helps the bread stay white and soft. Holds more water too. That means less flour. That means more profit. He continues, opening another packet. This here is chalk. Makes the flour heavier. More weight means more money. You stare at the powders, horrified. Isn't that cheating? You ask before you can stop yourself. Parsons laughs. Cheating? This is business, lad. Everyone does it. Some use bones, beans, even clay. Alum and chalk are the gentle stuff. He's right about one thing: many bakers in the 1870s were doing this. The food laws were weak, and no one was checking what went into bread. As Parsons carefully measures the powders and adds them to the flour, you realize how easy it is. The powders mix right in, invisible. The dough feels a little different, gritty and less stretchy, but it still looks like normal dough. Too much alum and it tastes metallic, Parsons explains. Too much chalk and it feels wrong. But the right balance? Perfection, or good enough for the poor neighborhoods. He finishes mixing and packs up his case. You did well, not squeamish. That'll take you far if your lungs don't give out first. He chuckles and leaves. The adulterated bread bakes alongside the real loaves. When they come out, they look perfect, whiter and neater than the honest bread. The foreman sets them aside. These are for the slums, he says. 2 pence a loaf. Half the flour, same weight, lower price. Everyone wins. Except your conscience. You feel sick, but what can you do? Wages are so low that you can't afford to say no. A few shillings a week barely covers rent. Most journeyman bakers live hand to mouth. Morals don't pay the bills. Just when things couldn't get worse, Duncan stumbles into the bakery, bleeding from his forehead. Street Arabs, he gasps. 5 of them. Took the whole basket, 14 loaves for Mill Street. The foreman explodes in anger. That's 7 shillings lost. Coming out of your wages, you useless sack of guts. They had knives, Duncan says weakly. You should have fought. Died for the bread if you had to. Duncan looks like he might collapse again. He needs a doctor, you say. The foreman laughs. Doctor? For a scratch? Get back to work, both of you. So the day continues. The second shift begins, though you haven't slept in almost 24 hours. Your body aches, your mind is foggy, but the orders keep coming. This shift focuses on smaller, fancier items: rolls, buns, sweet loaves. You're shaping dough for dinner rolls when a dirty little boy, maybe 8 years old, walks in with a note. Message for the master, he says. The foreman reads it and frowns. They want 30 bath buns by 3 o'clock. Rush order. Bath buns are sweet rolls with currants and sugar on top. Making them takes extra time and ingredients. We haven't even started a sweet dough. Harpet protests. Then you'd better get started. The foreman barks. The boy stays to wait for the reply. He watches everything with wide eyes. You want to be a baker one day? Duncan asks. The boy shakes his head. No, sir. My dad says bakers die young with bad lungs. I want to be a chimney sweep. Everyone laughs at the irony. Chimney sweeping is dangerous too, but to him, it still sounds safer than baking. The bakery bursts into action. Currants are soaked, sugar is crushed, and sweet dough is mixed. The boy watches in silence until the buns are packed, and the foreman hands him a reply. As he leaves, he glances back one last time, his face full of both wonder and fear. You glance at the clock. You've been working more than 14 hours now. Your hands move on their own. You're so tired you start to make mistakes. A tray of rolls comes out burned. That's 6 pence off your wages, the foreman snaps. By mid-afternoon, the bath buns are ready golden and delicious, sweet-smelling and perfect. Your stomach growls. You haven't eaten since Duncan gave you that small loaf. You, the foreman says, deliver these to Corporation Street. Don't dawdle, and don't let anyone rob you. You're too tired to speak. But even this short trip outside feels like a relief. The streets are bright and alive. People walk around smiling, buying flowers, chatting. No one knows or cares what goes on in the dark world beneath their feet. Corporation Street is fancy. Tea shops and boutiques line the road. You enter one tea room with the buns, where well-dressed women sip tea from china cups. The manager sniffs at your delivery. These are late, he says. They look plain. Jenkins mixes with apricot, very continental. You don't answer. You're too tired. He pays you no tip and turns away. You walk back slowly. Every step feels like a mountain. The basket, though lighter now, feels heavier than before. As you head back to the bakehouse, you hear the church clock strike 4. Most people are finishing their workday. But not you. Not any baker. You've been working since 11 p.m. last night, and your shift isn't over yet. In fact, it's just getting ready to start again. You return to the bakehouse just before 5 p.m., your bones aching and your body barely holding together. The moment you open the door, the familiar wave of heat and flour dust hits you like a slap. It's the same choking air, the same sweaty. Darkness. You step inside, and it feels like you never left. Duncan and Harpet are still at their stations. Their faces are gray with fatigue, and they move like machines, slow, stiff, and quiet. The foreman greets you with his usual growl. Payment? He demands, holding out a hand. You give him the money from the tea room. He pockets it without a word. Good. Clear the benches. We've got the evening batch starting. 50 household loaves and 30 workers' loaves. Your heart sinks. No break, no sleep, just more work. This is the reality of being a Victorian baker. People think of bread making as a peaceful craft, but in the 1870s, it was a life of endless labor. You don't even get a moment to catch your breath. You pick up your tools again and get to work. Harpet steps close while the foreman steps out. You need to rest, he whispers. You've been at it since last night. I can't, you reply. The foreman will notice. Harpet gives you a knowing look. Not if I knock over the flour bin. He'll be too busy yelling to count. Heads. Before you can argue, he moves quickly and bumps into a sack of flour. It crashes to the floor, splitting open and sending a cloud of white dust everywhere. You clumsy ox. The foreman roars, running back in. That's 15 shillings worth of flour. In the chaos, you quietly slip into the storage room. It's dark, full of boxes and sacks. You find a corner, sit down, and let your aching body relax. You lean your back against the cold stone wall. The pain fades just enough to let sleep take you. It grabs you quickly, like falling into deep water that you dream of drowning in flour. Then rough hands shake you awake. You think this is a hotel? Snarls the foreman. Sleeping on my time? That's a day's wages gone. He yanks you up, and your protests die in your throat. There's no point. You shuffle back to the workroom. Harpet and Duncan avoid your eyes. They tried to help, but it didn't work. Now you're in more trouble, since you've had your beauty sleep. The foreman growls. You can handle the fancy breads. Tea shop on Colmore Row wants 30 French rolls and a dozen Vienna loaves by morning. He points to a crumpled piece of paper with the recipes. Mess it up and you're out. This isn't just work. It's a test and a punishment. Fancy breads are hard to make. They take more care, more time, and more skill. Giving the job to someone half asleep and already exhausted is setting them up to fail. You take a deep breath and gather the ingredients. The French rolls need flour, water, salt, yeast, milk, and butter. The Vienna loaves use beer yeast instead of regular yeast, which gives them a unique flavor. You mix the dough slowly, trying to focus. The butter is almost melted from the bakehouse. Heat, and the milk smells sour. But you can't afford to waste anything. Don't waste that butter, the foreman snaps. It costs more than you do. He's not wrong. Butter was expensive in Victorian England, especially in the cities. Breads made with butter were sold to rich customers at high prices. That's where the real money came from. Not factory loaves for the poor, but soft rolls and sweet buns for tea rooms and hotels that you mix carefully. The dough feels different, silkier, but stickier. It needs a lighter touch. Your hands, rough and blistered, struggle to handle it gently. Just then, a young boy walks in. He looks about 12, but his face is already marked by burns and tired eyes. His clothes are torn, and he flinches at every sound. New apprentice, the foreman grunts. Show him what to do, Duncan. Duncan nods and leads the boy over to stack wood. The boy watches everything nervously. What's your name? Harpet asks. Tommy, sir, he whispers. Not sir, just Harpet. We're all dust-covered ghosts here. You watch Tommy as you shape the French rolls. He's small and clearly scared, but he does what he's told. Apprentices were often boys from poor families. Their parents were paid a few pounds to send them off to train in trades like baking. They worked long hours for no pay, hoping they'd learn enough to get a job one day. Tommy is quickly put to work hauling coal. The load is too heavy for him, and he stumbles, spilling it. The foreman slaps him across the ear. Clumsy brat. Pick up every piece. Tommy doesn't cry. That's the worst part. It means he's used to it. By now, your fancy dough is ready to shape. Vienna loaves are long and narrow with pointed ends. You cut slashes in the top with a razor to give them their signature look. These breads will be sold for high prices to rich customers who care about how their food looks. Then, something unusual happens. The bakehouse door swings open, and a well-dressed woman steps inside. She's wearing a fine dress and gloves. Behind her stands the master baker, acting like a completely different man, polite and nervous. As you can see, Mrs. Harding, he says, we maintain the highest standards. The woman wrinkles her nose as she looks around. You prepare food in this place? All bakeries operate similarly, madam. Underground spaces keep the heat stable for fermentation. She doesn't seem convinced. Her eyes scan the filth, the sweat, the smoke, and then settle on Tommy, still dusty and trembling. You employ children here? Apprentices, madam. It's traditional. The woman's lips go tight. I think not. My hotel will find a more modern bakery. She turns and leaves, skirt swishing. The master follows, panicked. The promise of a big hotel contract disappears with her. He returns moments later, furious. His face is red and twisted with anger. His eyes fall on Tommy. You! He shouts. Your filthy face cost me that account. Get out. Tommy backs away in shock. But sir, where should I... Did I ask for your life story? Out. Duncan steps forward. Master, the boy is contracted. His parents were paid £5. You can't just... Another word and you're gone too. Tommy turns to leave. Harpet moves quickly and slips something into his pocket money or food you don't know. It's a small mercy. The master storms out. Everyone is quiet. The foreman finally spits on the floor. Bloody, high and mighty customers. They want bread but don't want to know how it's made. He's right. Many rich people in Victorian England like to pretend their food came from spotless kitchens. They didn't want to think about the sweat, blood, and suffering that went into it. Your Vienna loaves are ready for the oven. You place them inside, watching them carefully. The foreman hovers nearby. 12 minutes, not a second more. And golden, not brown. Rich folks don't like dark crusts. Even the color of bread became a class issue. Bread for the poor could be any shape or color. But bread for the rich had to look perfect, just the right shade, size, and shape. As the loaves bake, a different visitor enters. A woman in plain clothes, strong and confident. "Evening, gents. I'm Mrs. Parker from the Bakers Association. Here to talk about union matters." The foreman steps forward. "The master doesn't allow union talk in his bakehouse." "The master's not here," she says, smiling. "And I won't leave until I've had my say." She pulls out some pamphlets and sets them on a bench. Manchester bakers just want a 60-hour week. No more 18-hour shifts, real breaks. Clean beds. You can have it too. Come to the meeting Sunday at 3 o'clock. The men exchange glances. The idea of fair hours sounds like a dream. He'll just fire us all. Duncan whispers. "They can't replace every baker," Mrs. Parker replies. "Bread must be made, and only you know how." The foreman moves toward the stairs like he might call the master, then stops. You can see he's thinking about it. He's tired too. Maybe he wants changed. Mrs. Parker nods toward the oven. "Your bread's almost burning, by the way." You lunge forward and pull out the loaves. They're darker than ideal, but not ruined. When you turn around, she's already leaving. The foreman gathers the pamphlets. Everyone expects him to throw them away. But instead, he slips one into his pocket and hides the rest in a flour bin. Small acts of rebellion. Maybe things are changing. The Vienna loaves you saved from burning are now resting on cooling racks. They're golden and crusty, smelling better than anything you've eaten in days. Even though your body is aching and your eyes can barely stay open, there's a small sense of pride in making something this good. "Not bad," the foreman says grudgingly, inspecting the bread. "French rolls next, and be quick. We're behind after all those interruptions." The night outside is deepening. You can't see the sky from this underground bakery, but you know it's long past sunset. You've been working for nearly 24 hours now. Your body has stopped caring about time. You feel like you're floating, like everything is happening in a dream. As you shape the French rolls, Duncan leans over. "You'll get used to it," he says quietly. "After a while, you can work in your sleep." "I don't know if I'll last long enough to find out," you mutter. "You might," he replies. "You've got the right build. Not too heavy." It's the big lads who drop first. Their hearts give out. He nods toward Harpet. He's been baking for 15 years, one of the lucky ones. Harpet looks up, hearing his name. His face is pale, and his eyes look hollow. "Lucky?" he says, almost laughing. "My lungs sound like a broken accordion. Can't climb stairs without gasping. That's not lucky, that's surviving." And that was the truth of it. If you lived past 40, people thought you were lucky. Most bakers didn't. Lung problems, heat exhaustion, injuries, and starvation cut lives short. Making it to middle age was a miracle. The bakery door creaks open again, and this time it's a welcome visitor. A woman in her 30s, plain-faced but warm, walks in carrying a basket. The entire bakehouse perks up when they see her. "Evening, gents," she calls cheerfully. "Brought your midnight meal." Her name is Mrs. Watson, and apparently she's well known here. Even the foreman manages to smile. "Right on time as always," he says. She sets down her basket and begins unpacking. There's a large pot of tea, thick sandwiches wrapped in cloth, and slices of pie. "Beef and onion tonight," she announces. "Plum pie from yesterday." The smell fills the room, and for a moment, everyone forgets their pain. Bakers often paid women like Mrs. Watson a few pence a week to deliver meals during their long shifts. Without this, they might not eat at all. You grab a sandwich and dig in. The bread is soft, the meat is salty and hot. The tea is strong and sweet, just what you need to stay awake. It's your first real meal in more than a day. As she pours tea, Mrs. Watson says quietly, "Tommy's all right. I've taken him in for now." Everyone knows who she's talking about, the young apprentice who was thrown out earlier. "My Jim was a baker's boy too," she adds, "before the consumption got him." That's what they called tuberculosis back then. It killed many bakers. The flour dust ruined their lungs. The master won't take him back, the foreman warns. Mrs. Watson shrugs. Then I'll train him for cooking. The boy needs a trade. She says it so calmly, like she's used to dealing with loss and hardship. And maybe she is. That was normal for working class women. No time to mourn, just keep moving forward. You finish your sandwich gratefully. It may not seem like much, but this food feels like a feast. The tea warms your chest. The break, though only 15 minutes, feels like a luxury. Mrs. Watson packs her empty containers. Same time tomorrow, gents, she says. Mind the ovens. She waves and leaves, her scent of onions and tea still lingering in the hot, dusty air. Back to it, says the foreman. His friendly moment vanishes. The old bark is back. You return to shaping dough. Harpet appears at your side and whispers, "Union meeting Sunday. You should come. Things are changing. Slowly, but changing." You hesitate. The master would never allow it. Harpet gives you a tired smile. Masters don't have a choice when all the journeymen stand together. Bread has to be made, and only we know how. It's a simple truth. Without bakers, the city would starve. Maybe that's the only power you have. The French rolls are ready to go in the oven. You slide them onto the peel and place them inside. Another batch of fancy bread for rich people's breakfasts. Outside, the city sleeps, unaware of the struggle down below. But maybe that's starting to change. Morning is creeping into Birmingham, but down in the bakehouse, time feels like it's standing still. The sky above may be getting brighter, but the underground bakery is still trapped in darkness and heat. You've been working for almost 24 hours straight. The fancy bread, the French rolls and Vienna loaves, comes out of the oven golden and perfect. While the regular loaves are still baking, the foreman throws you a heavy bag. "Delivery time," he says. You're on the fancy bread route today. Colmore Road tea shops, then the hotels on New Street. Your heart drops. You've had no real sleep and very little food. But complaining isn't an option. Deliveries are part of the job, and the junior workers take turns doing them, no matter how exhausted they are. Harpet pulls you aside and quietly slips 2 small loaves into your bag. "One for you, one for trading," he says. "You'll need them." This simple act of kindness means a lot. Bakers often helped each other survive by sharing food. They traded bread for other goods and built small support systems to survive. In a world that didn't care much for them, outside, Birmingham is waking up. Factory whistles scream through the air. Street vendors wheel their carts into place. Milkmen clatter past with glass bottles. You join the morning flow, the weight of your delivery bag making your shoulders burn. Inside are almost 40 pounds of high-end bread. Colmore Row is home to the city's fanciest shops and cafes. You stop first at Peterson's Tea Room, a posh place where well-dressed men and women sip tea and nibble on little sandwiches. The manager meets you at the door, his mustache waxed into perfect points. "These are rather dark," he says, inspecting the Vienna loaf. "Our customers prefer lighter crusts." You want to snap back, to tell him the truth about the conditions in which the bread was made. But instead, you keep your eyes down. "Sorry, sir. I'll let the master baker know." "They'll have to do," he mutters. "But we may switch to Jenkins on Church Street." His bread is more refined. The casual threat hangs in the air. One complaint from a customer could cost the bakery a contract and cost you your job. Bakeries in 1870s Birmingham were always fighting to keep their accounts. One wrong step and you were out. You continue your route. The morning air, though heavy with smoke, feels almost refreshing compared to the thick air of the bakery. Your lungs can finally stretch. You see factory workers walking with cloth-wrapped bread, most of it day old, sold cheap the night before. Many people can't afford fresh loaves. The streets get busier as you move through the city. Vendors call out, selling pies, fish, matches, and hot drinks. Birmingham is a noisy, crowded place, filled with workers and smoke and struggle. At the Grand Hotel on New Street, your biggest delivery awaits 20 Vienna loaves for breakfast service. The hotel's kitchen is cleaner and brighter than your bakehouse. Copper pots shine. The floors are swept. It's like another world. A tall chef with a French accent inspects a loaf, slices it open, and nods. This is acceptable. Tell your master quality has improved. You feel a small wave of pride. Then the chef looks at you again. You look dead on your feet, he says. Before you can answer, he shouts for an assistant to bring something. Moments later, you're handed a mug of hot coffee and a plate with a small piece of bacon and eggs. Eat, says the chef. Can't have delivery boys fainting in my kitchen. The smell nearly knocks you over. This is your first hot meal in days. You eat standing up, grateful beyond words. The coffee is strong and sweet. It wakes you up a bit. Thank you, you say. The chef shrugs. Was a baker's boy myself in Paris. Know how it is. He looks at your cracked, flour-covered hands. Use lanolin at night. Helps the burns. You thank him again and head out. Your delivery isn't over. You still have standard loaves to deliver to smaller shops and boarding houses. This takes you through the poorer parts of Birmingham, where narrow alleys and tenements line the streets. On Bull Street, you stop at a small shop run by Mrs. Higgins, a stout woman with sharp eyes. Too short again, she says after counting. The loaves, third time this month. I only deliver what they give me, you say truthfully. She narrows her eyes. PH, someone's skimming, and I bet it's not you. But tell your master I expect 12 loaves when I pay for 12. Bread theft was common sometimes by other workers, sometimes by street thieves, and sometimes by the bakers themselves, shorting deliveries to sell extras elsewhere. As you continue your route, you notice something striking. The type of bread people buy depends on their class. Wealthy homes get fresh white loaves delivered right to their kitchens. Middle-class families visit respectable shops and choose between white bread or cheaper seconds. The working class buys day-old bread from back doors or street sellers. And the poorest people gather behind bakeries at the end of the day, hoping for scraps. Outside Simmons Bakery, you see a group of women and children waiting near the back door. Their faces are thin, their clothes ragged. A baker's assistant finally appears with a tray of misshapen or burned loaves. He hands them out silently. There are no words. Just bread, given and taken. It's a sobering sight. You may be tired and hurting, but at least you have guaranteed food and a bed. These people have nothing. Your last stop is a boarding house for factory workers, men who rent beds by the shift and sleep in turns. The housekeeper is a large woman with arms like tree trunks. She counts the loaves carefully. Right number today, she says. Not like last week. Different delivery boy then, you explain. HMPH, you're all thieves, but at least you look honest. She hands you a penny tip. A rare act of kindness on these routes. Get yourself something hot to drink. You look half dead. Even this small gesture lifts your spirits. In a hard world, little things matter. You head back toward the bakehouse. Your legs ache, your knees feel wobbly, and your bag is now empty, but somehow heavier than when it was full. The streets are crowded with workers and shoppers, all part of Birmingham's endless machine. Near the market square, you see a familiar scene, a hot bread cart surrounded by people. The vendor is an old man with a wrinkled face, moving quickly to slice and sell warm bread. Hot bread, fresh from the oven. Penny a slice, he calls. You pause to watch. The bread is decent, probably from Wilson's bakery. The crowd is mostly laborers grabbing food on their break. The vendor notices your delivery bag. You from Barker's? He asks. Still using that American flour? Good enough, you reply carefully. Yeah, when it's not mixed with bean flour. Old Barker's known to stretch his dough. He winks. But then again, we all do what we must. His casual tone says everything. In this trade, almost everyone cuts corners. The only question is how far you're willing to go. As you continue walking, you spot a police constable holding a young boy by the collar. The boy looks about 10. He's dirty, crying, and holding half a loaf of bread. Caught him red-handed, the constable says. Snatched it off a delivery cart. The punishment could be harsh. Even children were sent to prison or shipped off to colonies for stealing bread. Victorian justice didn't care about hunger. Before you can stop yourself, you step forward. He's mine, you say. My brother sent him for bread. He just got confused. Didn't know you had to pay first. The constable raises an eyebrow. You vouch for him? Yes, sir. The boy catches on quickly. Sorry, Charlie, he says. Didn't mean to cause trouble. You pull a penny from your pocket and offer it for the loaf. The constable releases the boy with a warning. Tap on the head. Once you're out of sight, the boy looks up and grins. Thanks, mister. Thought I was going to the workhouse for sure. What's your name? You ask. Billy. Some call me Billy Crumb, 'cause I'm always chasing bread. He opens his jacket and carefully tucks the loaf inside. You reach into your bag and hand him one of the small loaves Harpet gave you. Try not to steal next time. Not everyone's as kind. The boy's eyes light up. God bless you. I'll remember this. Then he's gone, vanishing into the maze of back streets. You stand for a moment, watching him disappear. In a world so harsh, small acts of kindness feel like miracles. And right now, that feels like enough. When you finally return to the bakehouse, the familiar wave of heat and smoke hits you again. The underground room feels like a trap. There's no breeze, no sunlight, just the thick smell of yeast, coal, and human sweat. It's hard to believe. You were just outside breathing real air. The foreman takes one look at your face and grunts. Took your sweet time. Busy, Root, you reply weakly. He doesn't answer. Just jerks his thumb toward the dough bench. More bread needs kneading. You've now been awake for nearly 30 hours. Every step feels like you're dragging weights behind you. Your back screams, your hands are raw. But your body keeps going, like a broken machine still running, because one's pulled the plug. You start kneading a new batch of dough. It's sticky and heavy. You lean into it with your whole body, using your arms, shoulders, and hips. There's no rhythm anymore, just pushing and pulling because that's all you know to do. The other bakers are just as tired. Duncan's shirt is soaked through with sweat. Harpet moves slowly, his legs stiff. The air is so thick with flour dust that you can see it swirling in the gaslight. Each breath feels like swallowing sand. Then a loud clank echoes from upstairs. The master baker is coming down. He steps into the bakehouse, dressed in a clean coat and shiny shoes. His hair is slicked back. His face is round and pink, like someone who's never missed a meal. Men, he says, pretending to smile. I have good news. No one answers. We've secured the tea shop contract again. They were quite impressed with the last batch. And the Grand Hotel has doubled their order for Sunday brunch. Again, silence. I expect full effort this weekend. Bonuses may be considered for the most efficient among you. Still, no one speaks. Everyone is too tired or too angry. The master clears his throat. Let's keep up the good work. He turns and leaves as soon as the door shuts behind him. The foreman rolls his eyes. Bonuses, he mutters. You'll see pigs fly before he hands out extra pay. He said that last Christmas too, Duncan adds, and gave us each half a penny and a fruitcake. Half a penny. Harpet laughs bitterly. That wouldn't buy a matchstick. You go back to kneading, your hands moving automatically. Thoughts drift. What would it be like to have a life outside of this room? A job with rest? A bed that isn't a sack of flour? Suddenly, someone coughs loud, deep, painful. It's Duncan. He doubles over, hacking until he's red in the face. The foreman rushes over. "You all right?" Duncan wipes his mouth, and you all see it blood on his hand. No one speaks. Everyone knows what that means. "Get him out," Harpet says softly. He needs air. 2 bakers help Duncan up and lead him outside. The foreman watches, shaking his head. "Another one with the red lung," he mutters. "We'll be down a man for the weekend." Red lung. That's what they called the mix of flour dust and coal smoke that tore up your insides over time. You breathed it every day, every hour. And if it didn't kill you quickly, it made your life miserable. When Duncan returns 20 minutes later, he's pale but smiling. "Still alive," he says, settling back into his spot. "Should have stayed." "Out longer," Harpet tells him. "And miss all this fun?" Duncan jokes weakly. His hands shake as he picks up the dough again. The rest of the day passes in slow motion. More dough, more shaping, more kneading, more baking. The heat never lets up. The smoke never clears. By the time the afternoon ends, you've been on your feet for almost 36 hours. Finally, the foreman says the words you've been waiting for. "Go get some rest." You don't need to be told twice. You head to the sleeping room upstairs. Really just a storage area with wooden shelves and sacks of flour. You find a spot on the boards, curl up with your jacket as a blanket, and close your eyes. You sleep like a corpse. No dreams, just darkness. When you wake, hours have passed. You feel no better. Your body aches worse than before. Your mouth is dry. Your stomach growls. But you're used to it. Downstairs, the bakehouse is already buzzing again. Another shift has begun. The cycle never ends. You pick up your apron and head back down. This time, you notice something different. The air feels a little clearer. Someone has propped open the side door. Fresh air well. As fresh as Birmingham gets flows in. Foreman stepped out, Harpet whispers. "We're taking small wins. Even a small breeze is a blessing." The newest apprentice, Tommy's replacement, is a quiet girl named Elsie. She doesn't say much, but she works hard. She's fast and careful. Some of the men grumble about working alongside a girl, but most are too tired to care. Elsie watches everything. She learns quickly. She copies your movements, kneading dough, with surprising strength for someone so small. You ask her, "You ever done this before?" She shakes her head. "Used to work in a laundry. This is hotter, but at least I'm not scrubbing rich ladies' bloomers." You smile. Fair point. Over time, Elsie starts talking more. She tells stories about her brothers, about her dreams, of owning a pie shop, about how she used to bake with her mom before the fever took her. "Once I get some money," she says, "I'll make real pies. With proper crusts, not just flour and lard." You nod. It's a dream, but it's a good one. Everyone here has dreams. Some want their own shop, some want to escape the city. Some just want to survive another year. In a place like this, dreams are the only thing no one can take from you on Sunday morning. As the church bells ring above, Harpet comes to you. Meetings today. 3 o'clock, down by the canal. You hesitate. They're forming a real bakers' union. Enough men are joining. "If we stick together, we can push for better hours, better pay, cleaner work." You nod slowly. "I'll come." He smiles. "Good lad." And for the first time in weeks, something inside you feels light. Hope. A flicker of it, at least. Sunday arrives, and for the first time in weeks, you're not inside the bakehouse when the bells ring. Instead, you're standing near the canal, under an old brick bridge. Around you are about 30 other bakers' men with flour-stained shirts. Cracked hands and tired faces. The canal water stinks, and rats scurry nearby, but no one cares. This is the first moment of real freedom many of them have had in years. Harpet steps up to speak. He's not a loud man, but his voice carries. "Brothers," he begins, "we're here because we've had enough. We're not machines. We're men. We deserve rest. We deserve clean air. We deserve to live past 40. Murmurs of agreement ripple through the crowd. I've worked in bakehouses for 20 years, he continues. I've seen friends die young. I've seen boys faint in the heat. I've seen grown men cough blood and keep working. And for what? So the master can buy a new carriage? A few men nod, fists clenched. This has to stop. We need shorter hours. We need better pay. We need protection. And the only way we'll get it is if we stand together. The crowd grows louder. For the first time, people aren't just tired, they're angry. Then a young man with a notepad steps forward. My name is Alfred Shaw. I work with the Bakers Association in London. We've helped organize unions there, and it's worked. Men now work 12-hour shifts instead of 18. They get proper breaks. If we do the same here, we can change things. He holds up a paper. This is the membership form. It costs a penny a week. That money goes towards supporting sick bakers, injured bakers, or families left behind. People start coming forward to sign. You hesitate. A part of you is scared. What if the master finds out? What if you lose your job? But another part of you is tired of being afraid. You've seen what happens when nothing changes. So you step forward and write your name. The others follow. Duncan, Elsie, even the grumbling old baker named George, who never speaks unless it's to complain, he signs. The union is born. That evening, back at the bakehouse, the master calls a meeting. He's furious. I've heard rumors, he says, pacing like a caged lion. Some of you are trying to unionize. Let me be clear. Any man involved will be dismissed without pay. Silence. No one speaks. But the look in Harput's eyes says everything. The master turns his glare on you. You? Did you go to the meeting? You meet his eyes. Yes. He steps closer. Then pack your things. You're done here. You nod. All right. He expects you to beg, to cry. But you don't. You walk upstairs, grab your coat, and come back down just before you leave. Duncan stands up. If he goes, I go. Then, Harput. Me too. Then Elsie. And me. Within minutes, half the bakehouse is empty. The master screams threats. Says you'll never work again. That you'll starve, but he doesn't stop you. Out in the street, the sky is gray, and smoke still fills the air. But it feels different now. You're not alone. You're part of something bigger. Over the next weeks, the union grows. More bakehouses join. Some try to fight back, locking out workers, hiring scabs. But others give in. Slowly, things begin to change. By the end of the year, your old bakehouse has shortened its shifts. New rules are in place. Apprentices are treated better. The air. Vents are cleaned. Duncan starts working at a smaller bakery with better conditions. Harput begins teaching young bakers their rights. Elsie opens a small pie stall at the market. It's not much, but it's hers. And you keep baking. But now you do it with pride and with purpose. You still wake up early. Your hands are still cracked, but the fear is gone. The silence is gone. And in its place is a community. People still eat bread every day. But now some of them know the story behind it. They know it came from heat and hunger, from sweat and strength, from men and women who stood up and said enough. And that story is still baked into every loaf.